Welcome back to the List Building Lifestyle. I'm your host, Igor Kafetz. Now, I'd like to apologize in advance about this episode because the audio quality is pretty terrible, but the quality of the content is really, really high, and that's why I couldn't pass on it. I really had to share it with you because even though this episode was recorded a couple of years ago, it's still super highly relevant today. Because in it, I discuss solo ads. I'm being interviewed by a good friend of mine, Anthony Morrison. Him and his brother Adrian are pretty big out there online. They have lots of different membership sites and products and offers. They're both super affiliates, and they're like pretty big. In fact, Anthony Morrison was a guru way before I was. So in this interview, Anthony's actually grilling me about the ins and outs of what are solo ads and how to use solo ads to build an email list very, very quickly. So if you're not using solo ads right now in your online business, you will find this episode extremely valuable. So again, I do apologize about the audio quality. It's pretty terrible. We did everything we could. I got a great guy. Name is Irfan. He's on my team. He's doing all the podcast production for us. And this is the best he could do. That means you can't really do much more than that. So again, audio is pretty terrible, but please make an effort because the content is really high quality. So go ahead and enjoy. I'm Igor Kafetz, and this is the List Building Lifestyle, the podcast for anyone who wants to build a wildly profitable email list working from home. If you'd like to make six figures, travel the world, and help people improve their lives in the process, this podcast is for you. I also invite you to claim a free copy of my best-selling book, The List Building Lifestyle: Confessions of an Email Millionaire, at igorsbook.com. Get the free book plus $3,000 bonus package that includes my best capture page templates, email swipe files, and traffic blueprints. Visit www.igorsbook.com for details. And now, it's time to claim your list building lifestyle.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Anthony Morrison here, and excited to share an awesome training, which is how can I get consistent traffic? How can I get traffic that's going to convert? How can I get traffic that's going to convert into sales for me, but at a cost that makes sense for me, right? Where I'm spending less than I'm making. And we've gone through all types of marketing channels, right? There's social media, which we'll talk a little bit about. There's Google and Yahoo and the whole search engine type of traffic. And then there's this other traffic source called solo ads. And if you've taken some of my other trainings, or if you've joined me on my weekly success conventions, then you know that we've talked about solo ads, what they are, how they work, and really why they are so effective, especially for people that are just getting started, or people that want a specific consistent amount of traffic on a weekly basis. And so what I wanted to do is bring an expert on solo ads into our course here and ask him some tough questions and really try to help you to better understand why solo ads work so well, some mistakes that you can make and how to avoid them when you're getting started, and then how you can really scale your business using solo ads. So Igor, one of my good friends here that has been doing solo ads for quite some time. So obviously, man, I appreciate you taking some time out to do this training with me. I'm good at solo ads, right? I don't by any means think I'm the expert at solo ads, but I started seeing a lot of your name popping up, people talking about, I got these from Igor, I got this ad from Igor, I got this solo ad from Igor, and it did well, and finally just like, hey, I'd like to talk to him. And so we hooked up, we started talking, and I'm so excited that you're able to share some of your insights into solo ads, because I think you would agree with me and with telling our students that they work really well for a lot of people.
Yes, absolutely. And, I really appreciate the opportunity as well, because as much as I love solo ads and as simple as they are, we're going to be chatting about this. You mentioned it's one of the easiest ways for a beginner to get started online, especially if they have a good offer, right, that they can funnel that traffic to. So there are some things you need to know before you start with solo ads to increase your chances of success. And I'm happy to share these with everyone listening now and into the future, because once you, again, like you said, once you solve that, I wouldn't call it a challenge. It's more like an ongoing demand needs. Like, you need gas for your car, you need food for your stomach and you need traffic for your business. Like, you always need that. But once you solve this one thing, everything gets so much easier, because there's really two types of people in line. The ones who know how to get traffic when they got an offer to promote, and they always seem to make money. There's nothing seems to stifle them. And if one offer doesn't work for them, all they have to do is just switch the offer, kind of move on to the next thing. And there's people who can't get traffic. And so it doesn't matter what tools you give them, the offers they want to promote or the business they want to run, they always stumble into the same wall that keeps them away from success. And that is, how do I get more leads? So this is exactly what this call is all about.
One thing that I mentioned earlier, and this is for everybody that's brand new to buying solo ads. What are some of the mistakes that first-time buyers make that you can help my students to avoid?
Okay, that's a good question, because most people just kind of ask a big general question, Igor, how do I become a millionaire, right? They're not concerned about the detail. But when you approach solo ads and when you have to play with your own money, things get real, like you have your own skin in the game. So some of the common mistakes I'm seeing, again, just off the top of my head, would be, first off, people aren't even aware of the fact that when they drive traffic, they get lots of fake leads. So that's a big issue. And for that particular reason, being somebody who spends as much as $120,000, $150,000 per month on solo ads as a traffic source, I found out eventually that there was a big portion of my lead flow that wasn't even real. So I was paying for leads that were getting on my email list and opting into my capture pages that simply did not exist for whatever reason. Sometimes it'd be a real email that just gets disabled. Sometimes it's a fake email because the person doesn't want to give me their email. Other times it's a specifically designed spam trap that hurts your deliverability. So what I've had done, because I haven't found a solution to it, eventually I developed my own solution, and I coded a software we call it Verify Shark, that I'm now giving to all of my clients for free when they want traffic with us. And of course, ambassador members and your clients will not be an exception to this. So it protects you from fake leads. So in other words, anywhere between 10 and 30% of traffic that you would otherwise get unprotected would be fake, and you're just basically paying for that stuff, and you're not able to make a profit with these leads, or these are not even real people. Now, simply, those cannot get on your list because the software blocks them. So that's one thing. Lots of fake leads out there, and most people who get into solo ads are simply not equipped with the knowledge and the tools to block them. The second thing I'm seeing is a lot of people are driving traffic without building their list. In other words, what they're doing is they're driving traffic to an offer page that may be like a sales page selling some kind of product. But we all know that in direct response marketing, which is what this is, it's direct response marketing, only the primary media we're using is the internet. We're operating with small conversion percentages, which means if I'm sending 100 people to an offer page and I say have 5 or 2 commit to a purchase, I still have these 95 or 97 or 98 people that didn't take action. Now, most people, they just leave them as they are and just continue and buy more traffic, so it's not efficient. It's kind of like buying gas for your car, but having 95% of it not end up in your car. Really doesn't make any sense. So instead, what's really important, which is why the ambassador program is such a great program, is because you get to build your asset. And before presenting them with a capture, before presenting them with an offer, you present them with a capture page, quote unquote, squeeze that email, build that list, so then you can follow up with them. So in the same example, say 100 people, we send them to our capture page. We have, say, 50 of them opt in. So now we have 50 people that continue to the next stage of the funnel. We still convert about 2 or 5 of them anyway because they showed commitment. It's the same people who would otherwise have bought. Yet we now have another 45 people we can follow up with, and over the course of the next 30 to say 90 days, realistically close about 5 to 10 more sales. And this way we not only make more money, but we now have an asset. And here's an interesting example, Anthony, something that even I didn't know until recently. Basically, a lot of people think that if your lead doesn't purchase from you in the first 14 days, this seems to be like the magic number for people, then they're not going to buy from you and they get discouraged. But what I discovered after running a series of promotions to my list in the previous 60 days, and then asking my assistant to find out how many people were actually buying each and every single thing that I emailed about, you found out that only 3% of people purchased everything, and that most people were purchasing different things for the first time. So in other words, these people spent months, if not years, on my email list without buying anything, and then all of a sudden they started buying. So Unlike with other strategies, when you build your business this way, when you drive traffic to a capture page, capture the leads, and then follow up with them, you end up making more money over time. So it's kind of like, investing your money in real estate and having an actual return on investment over time. Same thing with list building. That's the only way to have positive return on your business and your traffic over time.
What do you think a person should spend on their first solo ad purchase? I mean, they're just out of the gate. They're starting their business. I always tell them to start small, make sure they don't have any mistakes in their funnels before they buy big. But what are your thoughts?
Yes. So the way I approach it is not with the exact amount of money to spend, because that may be relative to different people, right? Some people play with their $200 in their pocket. Other people come in with $2,000. It all depends on the level of commitment and financial possibilities. For me personally, I started out with my very first paid traffic campaign was a $200 campaign that actually resulted in nothing. It wasn't with solos, it was with PPV traffic. But for me, that was a very painful experience because at the time I was living in Israel, and that would be quite literally about a week's worth of full-time 12-hour workdays. So when I invested $200 in traffic, my fiance, she just didn't get it. She didn't fight me for it, but she did not get it. So whatever your budget is, here's a couple of things that I recommend you consider when you decide how much you would like to invest in your first campaign. The first thing to remember is that with solo ads, you usually get what you pay for. In other words, what happens is people who you will approach, who will be willing to sell you very, 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 very cheap traffic, are usually doing that because they cannot otherwise monetize their email list. In other words, because their list is, for the lack of a better word, beaten to death. In other words, if they try to live off of that list promoting actual products for their own sake, they will not be able to sustain themselves. So a lot of times the price people charge you per every click they are willing to send you dictates what they know they can get from a list. And so that's one consideration. So you get what you pay for. Now, what I recommend is for your first campaign to be, if you can afford it, about 500 clicks. That's a good starting point. Now, if you absolutely cannot, then try to do 300. I do not like the idea of starting out with 100 or maybe even 150 click campaign, although some people do prefer that just because that's their budget, simply because it is very small to gauge any response. Plus, you never know if you're just lucky. In other words, if you have somebody with a list of 10,000 people who can send you 500 clicks and you're only getting 100 clicks, you may just get lucky and get, one or two sales, and that's the most their list can do. So you don't know if you can't gauge whether or not that database is good. But again, the beauty about solo ads really is that no matter your budget, even if your budget is $50, you can still find quote unquote solo ad vendors who will be able to accommodate to that price tag. Now, I'll be honest with you, we will not be able to. We don't have packages as small as $50. We have packages starting from as little as 300, I believe, 327 or something like that. But if you actually mention the ambassador program, you will most likely get a discount. So we can go a bit lower than that. But what I can tell you is that regardless whether you get traffic with us, okay, you can go and get traffic with the sources Anthony mentioned or some other sources. You can always find a source that's willing to work with your budget. So you simply have to get patient, start your research, and again, ask and you shall receive. There's always people who are willing. And then you start small, you start getting some conversions, you build your list, you mail your list, you get those sales, you get your commissions, and then you reinvest back. That's how I bootstrapped my entire business from the moment I was making as little as $100 a day, which was my initial, big milestone, and all the way to today, where today we can produce as much as, $30,000 or $60,000 in a single day. Again, it was all bootstrapped from the small campaigns who paid for themselves over time, and then money was reinvested.
Thank you for listening to The List Building Lifestyle. Get access to the previous episodes, transcript of today's show, as well as other exclusive content at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. Also remember to claim your free copy of my best-selling book at www.igorsbook.com. It explains how I made millions with list building starting from scratch. Plus, I'll give you $3,000 worth of free bonuses, including my best landing page templates, email swipe files, and traffic blueprints. Go to www.igorsbook.com now to claim your free package.